It's time for NuWellness TV with Dr. Lee. Join your host, the accomplished Dr. Cherilyn Lee, as she welcomes the leading experts in health and well-being as they explore the advancements in natural health, physical fitness, nutrition, integrative medicine, and self-discovery.
Good day, everyone, or evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to another wonderful episode of NuWellness TV with your host, Dr. Lee. I am so thrilled to have the guests that I have today because what I'm finding today, at this point in time, as we speak, more and more people are being diagnosed with catastrophic illnesses. And those things are really stressing us out. To no end. So we're going to talk about our finance, and our show today is dealing with finance and stress. Yes. And what's happening in our bodies, what's going on with our life because of finances. So if your finances are balanced or in order, guess what's going to happen to your health? So your financial focus, you know, we talk about our health focus and setting goals, but what is your financial focus, your vision, and your mission? I love that. I love that. So my guest who is here today is the one and only. She's incredible, internationally known. And this is Rita
Boccuzzi.
Boccuzzi. Thank you so much. Rita Boccuzzi. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have a lot of information to share with you. So I want you to get pens and paper ready to take notes. Please share this show because so many people have lost their homes, losing everything. I mean, we have more and more people becoming homeless because of health challenges. So I'm telling you, you can be on top today and be healthy and come up with something, or something happens in your life and you can just be wiped out. So please, we have to stay focused. We have to have a mission so that we can get through all of this. Right. So, Rita, first of all, I want you to tell people a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
And then why you went into what you're doing, because you're passionate with this because you have a reason.
Yes. I do. I have
and a mission.
Story. I definitely have a mission.
Yes. Let's hear your story.
So my story is I'm a cancer survivor of 8 years. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And 8 years ago, I have 2 beautiful sons. And what ended up happening is that my one son is in junior high and my other son was going into high school when I got diagnosed with cancer. So a thought came to me was, boy, these kids are going out in their world. Their mother is sick with cancer. I don't know if I'm going to live. And I haven't armed them with any financial education. And why was that? Well, the reason why I didn't was because I didn't know.
Yes. And most people don't.
Most people don't.
Do not know.
So we're not taught in schools, right? It's not a lack of money problem. It's actually a lack of money education problem in our nation.
And then our parents didn't know.
And our parents didn't
know.
So
they couldn't pass it on.
Right. Education's supposed to start in the home. So that was one of my my biggest things is, wait, if it's supposed to start in the home and I'm the mom, then I didn't do my job. And I went from being a breadwinner to being a burden in my eyes. And I know many, many, many cancer patients, nobody likes to talk about it, but that's what you feel like.
Yes.
And there isn't, I'm going to say there are ways that we can prevent that kind of prevention. And like any other problem with prevention is education so that we can elevate our society.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what I did is my mission, I was sick. I couldn't work, but I could read. So I was reading books by millionaires and billionaires. And my vision was that after I recovered, I visualized myself recovering.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then I had my mission that I was going to educate other families around money. I was going to start with my own family, start with my own children, but I had to start with me.
Had to. Yes.
And with that focus, then I looked at the options. One of the options was I could go back to school for 4 years in the financial industry. But then I looked at the industry, and no disrespect, but it was a bunch of broke professors, and all the people that were graduating from these colleges were broke themselves.
Exactly.
1, 2, and 3 years. Thought to myself, 4 years, 3 years, that's 7 years. We don't have time. So what would be the fastest path? I went and took courses with wealth builders, people who were 7-figure people that did it and successfully.
Yes.
But it wasn't just about them. It was about talking to their financial professionals, their CPAs, their accountants. How did they teach their family members, their children, right? We look at wealth and we see wealthy people passing it on. How does that happen?
Exactly.
How are they paying less in taxes than we are? What are those secrets?
Yes.
And I say, you can figure that out. You either already have to have well over 6 figures, and your advisor will probably tell you, or you could pay 6 figures like I did for the education over time to learn.
Yes.
Or I actually have free workshops. I chose to teach them. And there's a community of people teaching it. There are meetup groups. There's free education out there.
Yeah. And you're going to be sharing. So again, like I said, please share this show with your friends and family and have your pen and paper ready.
Yes.
Because you're going to be sharing some information where people can go to certain websites.
Absolutely.
For some webinars.
Yes.
That are going to be free.
Yes.
No catch to it.
No catch to it.
No sales pitch, free.
Free.
Because you're giving back.
I'm giving back.
You're paying it forward.
Truly believe an educated society is an elevated society. So I actually almost look at it as a selfish point on my part. I want us all to be elevated so that we are doing well.
Yes.
If you do well, I do well, our whole nation does well. And everybody's experienced some sort of financial loss, whether it was in 2001 when 401ks became what people coined 201ks because they dropped to half, or 2008 was a pretty big awakening for many, many people with the real estate that affected the stock market and that downward turn. And when people were going to retire, they didn't have their retirement anymore.
Right.
And then you have to wait for the upside. But if you were already at retirement, when was that going to be?
Yeah. A lot of people who are entrepreneurs like myself, if you do not take the time to set up your retirement funds, which, we get so caught up in the everyday working, and myself as a healthcare practitioner is an ongoing from morning to night, working with other people. And sometimes if you don't have an administrator or someone like yourself that's going to come in, I'm so glad I have you in my life.
Thank you.
To help set things up, then in the end, you're like, well, what am I going to do?
That's right.
And, because a lot of people know my own history of being sick and in comas.
Yes.
And the bill was close to $250,000.
That's right. That's right.
And what if that had wiped me out at that time? So some other things was happening, so it was taken care of. But I'm telling you, if I had a lot of property and a whole lot of things going on at that time, I could have been totally wiped out.
Exactly. I mean, we talk about there are, I'm going to say, instruments or products out there that we all need to learn about, that if something happens catastrophic like that, we can access a big pile of money and not tap into our resources. Because just like you said, so for myself, I felt the effects of the 2008 real estate down. And then 2 years later, I got diagnosed with cancer. Now I had reserves, and then I had to dip into my reserves twice. Most people don't have reserves.
Right.
I was speaking with an oncologist this past weekend. They were talking about the average cost is about $150,000, with $30,000 to $40,000 being that of the patient.
Right.
And that's wiping people out usually within about 2 years. So what can we access where we're not dipping into our accounts, other people, our moms and dads, family members, whoever, our homes, keeping those assets protected, and then accessing big pot. It's all out there.
Right. And I love the information that you brought from the Journal of Medicine, showing that the 42% of cancer patients are losing their entire life savings. Can you imagine? That is a lot. 42% losing their entire life savings.
Right.
And the average loss being $42,000.
Yep.
And this is sad. With 62 of the of the debits because of the treatments.
Yeah,
You know, we know the treatments are very expensive,
they are.
and they're going up.
Yes, they are.
They're going up.
Yep.
And you know, not everybody has insurance, and sometimes insurance doesn't cover everything.
And what if you want to use alternative medicine?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really important because there are products out there that you could turn on that big pile of money and actually use it towards your naturopathic
Exactly.
type treatment or treatments that you have.
And that's what a lot of people have done with me.
Yes.
And the ones that didn't, I just don't have the heart to turn people away.
Yeah.
So I keep my fees very reasonable.
Yeah.
Whereas people, for the initial visit, there's people in our city that charge $1,200 walking in the door.
Sure. Yes.
And $900 walking in the door
Yep.
just for the initial visit.
Yep.
And because it's a lot of paperwork, it's
Right.
a lot of stuff to go through. And I leave it where my patients can actually, I like to hear the voice because I can tell what's going on in the voice. So I'm there for them. So it's a lot of people I'm there for. So I tell them, if I don't get back right away, I will. But I can hear your voice. I can hear even if I don't hear your voice, when you leave a text, I can see and read through that. So I'm going to see that faster. But it's so important that, you know, everything costs. And I don't charge for every little thing because everything is expensive.
Yeah.
And people go other places. It's you know.
I mean, my personal experience
was horrible.
8 years ago, and I wanted to go naturopathic, and it was $5,000 just to get everything evaluated to get a second opinion. And
5,000
that was 8 years ago. Yeah,
for a second opinion.
for a second opinion.
Oh my goodness!
And
It's.
my hope disappeared. Right here, I am with this
I
terrible
mean that
diagnosis.
kind of leaves me in
It was
shock to hear you
devastating.
say that.
It was devastating at the time. It made me feel
$5,000.
like, am I worth $5,000? You know, I didn't have the money at the time to do that piece.
No wonder you said, you know, about feeling like you're a burden to the family.
And nobody should ever be feeling that because we should be
Yeah.
focusing on our health, not our finances. It shouldn't
Exactly.
be that piece should not be an issue. We, like you and I agree, your number one asset, the number one thing that is priceless is you and your health.
Exactly.
Because without it, you don't have any
You don't
wealth.
have any, and you know, there's somebody in the news right now who has the wealth.
Yeah.
Without mentioning names, it was something like $7 billion, and still there's no hope. They said they can't get any help.
Wow, that's amazing.
$7 billion, and then someone else out there, a female who needs a transplant, and it's going to be millions of dollars.
Easily.
You know, millions of
Easily.
dollars with this female. You know, it's so much going on.
That's why we have to learn about the alternatives. So one of my missions is to cut the bankruptcy rate in half due to medical related issues, specifically in my lifetime. Within the next 10 years.
Yes.
That's a big goal. And that's why we have to educate everybody to get on that, because it isn't as expensive as people think. I mean, my personal example is if I would have spent $300, I would have had access to $300,000 for my medical treatment.
Oh my
And that
goodness.
$5,000 wouldn't have made a difference.
300.
But I didn't know back then.
Yeah. So
And
you're
what we
going to be
don't know-
sharing with people about this.
Exactly.
$300.
Yeah, we had another client that spent about $1,200 over a 2-year period and got a $330,000 check when they got diagnosed with colon cancer. I mean, so it's there. We just need to spread the word, and we just need to learn and be loving on one another and just sharing with each other.
Yes.
And so create that hope. So one of the things that I'd like to talk about is, you know, where do we start? Where does it all start? Well, it starts in the mindset, right? That
Yes.
belief, that hope. Because when we have a belief, you know, that creates thoughts in us, and we can't always control the first one. Sometimes we
Right.
have more negative, right? We have more negative thoughts than we do positive.
Most definitely.
But we can control that second thought. And when we do, that changes the emotion or reaction that we're having to it, right? And then from that emotion is an action that you're going to have. That starts to become a pattern or a habit. It happens a lot with anxiety.
Oh,
people.
most definitely. And see, the thing is, when a person hear a diagnosis, you know, in my clinic, I don't use the C word.
Yeah.
We just say
I agree.
abnormal cells.
Yeah.
You know, but I show you so it's no misunderstanding.
Right.
You think I'm saying something else,
Right.
so that we can move forward.
Exactly.
You know, definitely want to move forward, not put a lot of energy and keep saying,
Yeah.
I have my cancer.
No, it's not your identity.
You don't want to do that. You don't
Right.
want to do that. So I want people to know that, I know through prayer
Yes.
that anything and
100%.
everything can be turned around, including finances. This is why
Absolutely.
we met, so that we
Absolutely.
can share this
Oh, yeah.
with the world, because it's just too many people going through this. You could be up here, like I said, today, and down here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we do not want to see that happen to anyone.
Exactly.
And what you have gone through has just been wonderful. So we're going to move on through this journey, because I want people to get this information and to know that stress, and basically to recap on the thoughts.
Yes.
If you think poor, and you think sickness, and you think woe is me, and you think I'm not going to get better, if you don't feel good about your doctor and your practitioner, then change doctors.
That's right. Absolutely.
Change, because that's going to interfere with your healing. That's
Yes.
going to interfere with your healing. So think positive. Think like I'm going to have a #1 TV show
Yeah.
that's going to reach
In the
millions.
nations.
And that's what I
right.
keep telling everyone.
That's right.
It's going to reach millions, only because it's information to help save lives.
Absolutely.
It's information to take the stress. If we could take the stress off everyone, guess what?
You know what? The
Guess
cancer
what?
rates would drop significantly. So when I went and got my diagnosis, which was tonsillar lymphoma at age 43, I was a soccer mom. I was eating pretty healthy for the most part. And, you get this diagnosis, and I asked your typical question is, doctor, what is the cause of this cancer?
Yes.
Well, he said, Rita, we don't know in your case, because you're the first one really at this age to have this type of cancer. So honestly, really 47% of all cancers are due to stress
Yes.
only. So if we could cut that stress out, 47%, we could really change.
Can you imagine 47%? When we look at environmental and
Yes.
internal, external environmental factors, that also leads to cancer. And you look at 47% stress.
Right.
I have a person right now who is going through losing their vision. And I told them it's stress.
Yes.
They're not getting it.
It's-
It is stress. Stress will do this.
Yes.
If you're going to have 47% with cancer, and it's all documented, everything we're
Right.
saying here is research. You can go and look for yourself. So why hold on to the stress? Your cortisol levels go up, your hair fall out. Cancer is the worst end of it, but then people wonder why I'm having all these other illnesses.
Oh, yeah.
Stress will kill you. A
You
heart
hear,
attack.
we hear about miracles every
Yeah.
day. And so
All the
let's
time.
focus on the miracles. Let's focus
Well,
on
I
that.
only reason why I'm stressing that
Yeah.
point, because everybody that's called me here lately
Yeah.
is stressed. And I
Yes.
want to let them know you got to let go of that.
So
then
there-
we're going to do the flip side now, and we're going to talk about letting go of the stress.
So we're going to let go of the stress. It's about those words that we're telling ourselves. Words are so key and important.
Yes, they are. Your
So if you
thoughts
keep on
and the
saying,
words.
so I speak in front of a lot of groups, large groups, and people say, gosh, aren't you nervous? Aren't you stressed? Aren't you scared? No, I'm excited. So really a lot of times, even in excitement, in positive scenarios, we're saying, oh gosh, I'm just so stressed out by this. And in reality, in actuality, it's actually excitement. And I love to see, every time I think of that word stressed, replace it with excitement. And excitement is a positive energy, and it just changes the demeanor of how you stand and how
It
you
changes
feel.
the hormones that's been released in the body. So the excitement hormone is going to heal your body. The excitement hormone is going to make you happy.
Right, exactly.
It's gonna make you
And we
happy.
know that happiness, just smiling and being happy, reduces stress. I mean, we all have mornings where we wake up and we're not happy. A lot of times, if I have a really down and I feel like I'm not going to be able to pull myself out and get out there and be happy, I don't want to share my negativity with everybody. I play on YouTube the happy song, a song that makes me happy, even if I don't feel
And
like
dance around the house.
it. And I start noticing I'm moving, I'm dancing, right? And another thing is you keep saying is the environment. So what are the words that are going around in your environment? Where did they come from? What are the stories? What are the habits that you learned from actually before the age of 8? So if you start to evaluate that, for me, I was a high anxiety person. diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. Went through a year of a doctor prescribing pill after pill after pill.
Not you.
Having side effects. Having side effects. And then I was like, you know what? I'm done with this.
Yes.
I'm done with this.
Yes.
And somebody shared Kicking the Worry Habit by Jim Rohn. I listened to
I like that, Kicking the Worry.
the Worry Habit. I
Habit.
had an
Okay.
epiphany. Oh, what if my general anxiety disorder is the belief that went to the thought that created a reactionary emotion that created me to say, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, I'm stressed, right? So I'm telling myself these stories.
Yes.
So what was the end result? The end result was that I was constantly stressed. So somebody suggested for me to listen to that every night before I went to bed. And as soon as, those voices that pop in your head in the morning for many of us, I talk about this. Everybody says they have those same voices. I mean, we would be millionaires if we could charge rent to those voices, right?
That occupy space there.
Because they occupy space,
yes.
exactly. But we need to kick them out because we can't charge rent. And I just kept on listening to that. After about 15 months, I realized I wasn't even needing to listen to it anymore, and I was cured. It was so super empowering, amazing. How much money was I spending on medicine
Oh my
and
goodness.
doctor's
And
visit?
what was it doing to your body?
And
The
what
side
was it
effects.
doing to my body?
Exactly.
And so many people are going through this. I don't want to discount that there are people really with
Yeah, exactly.
anxiety issues, but I wasn't one of them. And there are a lot of people,
Who are
if we
not.
start to look back at the stories that are being told, it isn't that for us. And we can actually turn it around.
And sometimes having someone to talk to.
Oh,
and now
yes.
you were able to find a book
Oh, yeah.
that helped you through your journey.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't have someone to turn to talk to. But guess what? You listen to the show today
Yes.
that you're going to share,
Sure, absolutely.
okay, with everyone, because people can sit in front of you and show that they're not stressed.
Yes.
And you wonder why later something happened to them. Because you know
Yes.
what? They knew how to put on a
They
smile
knew how to put on it, yes.
and camouflage it.
yeah.
Because I stood in front of a group of
We
people and I was so
definitely need community.
stressed that I thought I wanted to run out the room.
Yeah.
When I first started, really, and I actually told the people that. It was a dear friend of mine, Barbara. I told her, I said, I want to go run out the room. And I would say, okay, I looked at the program and I know I'm going to speak. Can you guys just make me last, so I can get my nerves together?
Sure.
So I had to get past all that.
Yep.
And now it's a lot
Imagine
easier.
if somebody would have told you, you know what, Dr. Lee, you're just excited. Go with the joy of the excitement.
I didn't know that years ago.
I
I
didn't
know
either.
that now, but years ago I did not. My heart, I had palpitations.
Yeah.
So all these things are going to affect you.
Yes.
So when you know better, you do better.
Right.
When you have the
right. So you
education,
can change your focus.
Yes, exactly.
You can change your focus. And especially when it comes to your money. I survey the groups that I'm with and I say, so where does your focus of money go? When I talk about money, does it go to what you don't have or what you do have? And most people, it's what you don't have. And is it the possibilities of what you can do? Or is it, oh my gosh, I can't because I don't have, this has been my past history. My
Right.
family has been broke. I'm going to be broke. No, it's up to you. You have the complete power to turn it around and change it, because at the end of all those things that happened to me, 2001, 2008, getting diagnosed with cancer, we had nothing left.
Right.
And I don't want to say we had nothing left because I had hope.
Yes.
I had vision. I had a focus. I created a purpose and a mission. I read books by millionaires and billionaires. Read them because you get to be in their minds. Hang out with the people that you want to be like, the community. That's why I also host events, right? We have these meetups where it's that community that you can be with other like-minded people. Be in the village that helps lift you up.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And just move you forward. It's there. The possibility is there. And then choose your focus. What is a focus, right? One simple one that I'd love to do in exercises, I developed a money mantra.
Okay.
All
okay.
right? So my money mantra is money comes to me easily, effortlessly, and abundantly on a daily basis from positive resources.
Positive. I like that.
Positive resources. Yeah, you
like
don't want
that.
it from a car accident. You don't want money from a car settled lawsuit. You want it from positive resources so that this way you can honor yourself. That one was super important for me because a lot of people feel like they're not worth it or they don't deserve it. And we all do. We are all created as amazing beings that are blessed to be blessed in abundance.
Most definitely.
And then with that abundance, we get to share that abundance
Yes, we
with
do.
our family, our friends, our community, and so on and so forth. And I had, I'm going to share a fun little experience. I went to meet a millionaire and I was being led up to his penthouse and he answered the door and he says, "Before you come in, I need to know what your money mantra is." And I was like, oh my God, thank God I knew. Thank God I had one.
Okay.
Right? So I shared him my money mantra just like I did you all. And he was like, "That's too long." Right? So he's a male. Guys think a little differently, but we can grow, we all can learn from each other. So his money mantra was, "Money comes to me from the north, south, east, and west right now."
Okay.
And that's it.
That's it.
So, you can choose your own. Start with one, pick one, and then have
But you got to
affirmations
feel
in-
that.
You got to feel it. You got to create it.
You got to feel it.
But start somewhere. I'm going to say borrow the words from mine. Borrowing words and confidence from others that have it is the key to success. All those millionaire, billionaire programs, all these things we're talking about, focus, mission, vision, the words, who you surround yourself, those are the common threads. So you don't have to spend 6 figures like I did. I share it so that we can all elevate and grow and have that focus and change our lives. I mean, I think I have a Pollyanna version of the world that I constantly see. I really, truly believe we can all be happy if we choose it and surround each other. It's like when we get together, that positive energy, also the serenity of it.
Yes.
I can be very excitable and really out there because it's hard to contain.
It's hard to contain when you live in your truth.
Exactly.
You live in your truth.
But there's a serene piece to it. The
Yes.
letting go, the surrender.
Yes.
That has been a huge journey and it's a continuing journey.
It's every day.
It's an everyday practice. So that's why one of the big things has been give yourself permission. I've been talking to a lot of people. We just don't give our permission to ourselves to have days where we step back and then maybe reflect. And actually, a lot of times, that's where the greatest moving forward happens. Sometimes you move one step back and you jump 5 steps forward. You have these epiphanies and these lessons.
Exactly.
And then we get to share them with one another because usually if it's happening to you, it's happening to others. I told you I was sharing that I was a little bit anxious this weekend just because I've been talking to more people who have already experienced cancer. And when you already experience these catastrophic events, it does limit you a little bit. I say a little bit because if I can move forward and do it, you can too. But there are things that are taken off the table just because you have had a life event. So we want to be educated about what that is.
Yes.
So if you're not in that bracket, great. You don't ever even have to worry about, oh, is that me?
Yes.
And if it is you, then what are the alternatives?
Exactly. And to know, I tell people preventative, we all know, is the key.
It is the
prevention.
key.
And this is why at NuWellness Healthcare, we offer the CRT
Yes.
exam. And the CRT is one of the earliest ways to find out. Because if you find out earlier, guess what? You don't need a lot of catastrophic medications.
Exactly.
You don't need to go through all the treatments. And then it's watched monthly or weekly.
Yes.
To make sure, and it's reproducible. This test is so reproducible so you can find out where you're going. Now, if you come in and you already have it, that's a different story. And we do other things, but we help to start turning things around. But I find people, their thoughts. One day I really asked myself after this one gentleman who had stage 4 liver colon. And after he did some detoxing, emotional detoxing, the cancer was gone. And I'm not going to go through the whole journey. But the VA hospital could not believe it. Now, he was only with me 4 months. Now, I haven't seen a person heal that fast. I said the only major thing he did in his life was to detox the negative things from around him, the negative people with the negative
Yes.
thoughts,
Yes.
all the negative, and the no love,
Yes.
the no love. And once he did that, I felt once he stepped into that of the knowingness and knew that he loved himself, he felt loved by his family, and didn't have the negative chatter going on in his ear from this person,
Yes.
that the cancer was gone.
I believe it.
It
90%
was
of all
gone.
healing is in your mind.
It was
The other
gone.
10% is the action on the other side.
Exactly.
It's and that happens all the time. I'm going to say, and even with traumatic events in our lives. So one of the other turning points in my life was actually when I was 21. So my brother died. He was accidentally electrocuted, and we
sorry to
buried
hear
him on
that.
his 27th birthday. Thank you. And it's important to share these things. I don't say these things for people to feel sad.
Right.
We have choices. So one of the choices, my brother was a light in my life. He was my mentor, my leader. At 27, he was starting his own business. He was actually working his career business because he was on his mission doing real estate investing and working on a job to pay his expenses. But what I knew him as a light in my life, full of unconditional love. He was definitely a positive influence and an inspiration to those around him.
Yes.
So literally at his coffin side, I decided I don't want to mourn him. I want to live his legacy my whole life.
Yes.
And so we
Celebrate
all can
his
do that.
life.
Celebrate
Yeah,
it.
celebrate his
He's with
life.
me always. And that was
Yeah.
30 years ago.
My
And I
goodness.
still feel just as strongly then as I do today.
Yes.
And that helped me get through my cancer. I knew if I could get through that, I could get through
And you're
this.
just radiant. You look
you.
so beautiful.
Thank you.
Just truly radiant. And with joy. And I've been knowing you for a long time. I have never seen you sit down and look like disappointed, sad. I mean, we all have moments.
do.
We're all human.
Yes.
But, and you always have seemed uplifted and happy. I know if Rita is going to be somewhere and I turn and look at her, I'm going to see a happy face.
Absolutely.
I know
Gotta
that.
bring joy. You know what? And it's in the smallest things. Our biggest gifts are in the simplicity and the smallest things.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes it's about dressing up. It makes you feel different.
Yes.
And then you go out. Sometimes dress up for fun. I mean, I was actually on a cruise recently, and they have one of those dress up nights.
Oh,
right?
yes, I know. I've been on one.
Right? And I actually decided to repeat the dress I wore for my son's wedding, right?
Okay.
Because it made me feel so awesome. I said, I don't care if I'm wearing it again.
Yes.
I'm going to wear it. It was
Nobody else knew.
Nobody else knew. It was Rockstar. It was gold. And literally when I walked out, the bright smiles, the comments, people were like, oh my gosh, this is what that night was meant to be.
Yes.
And it just shifted everybody and they were smiling. So that smile came back at me.
Exactly.
And it was just reciprocal. Sometimes I get up and even if I'm going out to the doctors, I'm in an elevator, people go, gosh, you look so amazing. It feels so good.
Yes.
Just smiling at other people.
And I tell people that all the time. I've said it many times on the show. You can that's free.
That's free.
A smile is free. A compliment is free.
Yes.
You never know how that changes that person's life to just
Absolutely.
say, and I have a dear friend who tells me all the time, you never go anywhere without complimenting people, do you? I said, you know what? It's me. It's just my habit. If I see something I like, I tell that person, I love your hair. Walking in here, I told a gentleman, I love your haircut. That is so sharp. He said, oh, wow, nobody ever told me that.
It's
and it
amazing.
was, but it was. It was very nicely cut and looked very stylish. But the thing is to take the time to see beauty around you.
Yes.
And see something beautiful in a person. And don't
speak
look,
it out when you can.
And speak it out. And don't look for all the negative all the time.
Yeah, and I think most people do see the beauty, but they worry about saying it. And I think once you do, the reward is amazing. So it's, when you have that focus, you repeat as necessary. You just keep on going, repeating, so that you keep on moving forward.
Yes.
And
so we're going to keep moving forward
Yeah,
too.
we'll keep moving
But we
forward.
have so much information to share.
Yes. And it's just, it is about, it is that core focus of visualizing your goals. So, take a moment
Focus.
in your day. Visualize what would your most amazing day look like when you've arrived, when you had whatever you consider your wealth, because everybody considers wealth differently.
Yes, they
Being
do.
rich means something different to everybody differently. I like visualizing myself two different ways that come to mind immediately. Being on a ranch, closing my eyes, I'm in the front, I'm relaxing, I'm smelling the green pasture and the trees behind me. The sun is shining on me, and I'm just enjoying the day. I see beautiful horses. I see children playing. I'm with my family, and I'm just relaxing. And just feeling that I'm there. The other one's being on the beach. Beach makes me feel fun.
I love
I
beach.
love the sand. I love the feel of it. I love the water and everything in it. And it just makes me happy. It energizes me. So one's super relaxing and the other one's super energizing. You know, just pick what's for you.
Yeah,
It
and I
comes true.
use that technique with some of my biofeedback people because I want to know in what time and space are you most relaxed, and you can test a person and actually find out where are they most relaxed.
Right.
You know, and it must be a place where you're alone.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's in your space.
In your space, that's going to help you be relaxed.
So the other thing is having faith.
Yeah.
Unwavering faith
Yes.
is amazing on keeping you going through that
Exactly.
action, keeping you focused, getting you to those results. Step by step, little steps, big step, pauses, right? Sometimes we have to pause. Step backs aren't always step backs. They're just pauses.
That's it.
You just have to have an end time to those pauses. I learned that when something happens to you and you're having a reaction, really you only need to move through it. It only takes about 20 minutes if you allow yourself to do it, experience it, go through it and say, okay, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes. Sometimes things are a little bit bigger and they might take a day, but give an end point to it.
Exactly.
Right? Because otherwise you're
And
letting
don't
it have
talk
control.
about it. Don't keep bringing it up. Let it end.
Let it end. And there are times they might come up again, but
It's the way you
redirect
deal.
the way you talk
It's
about
the
it.
way
Like
you
I
do
did with
it.
my brother. I mean, for many years I couldn't talk about it, you know, crying for many years. I am, you know, I'm going to say I'm 30 years removed, but it isn't even in the 30 years removed because I see people still grieving for people 30 years later. They can't get beyond it. Sometimes it manifests in them as weight gain, right? Obesity. I mean, and I'm not just talking little obesity. I'm talking
Oh, yes.
morbidly obesity.
Most definitely, yeah.
Because they're identifying with the death of that person and the guilt of survivorship of themselves, of why they're still here and their worthiness. So these are things to say.
I've had patients like that. This one lady who worked with her husband, did everything, and she felt guilty that she survived and he did not. And then she stopped eating.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, luckily I take time to listen. You got to really listen to people.
Yes.
And in listening to my patients, and this is what I found out, because she had seen tons of doctors.
Yeah.
She was down to like 98 pounds.
Yeah.
And come to find out, that's what it was. She didn't need a psychiatrist. She needed someone to listen to her.
She needs someone to
So
listen.
when I had the long talk with her thereafter, and we must have talked 5 hours. I was at somebody else's clinic. They locked me up in the clinic and said, "You can stay as long as you like." It was a Friday. We're all going home, and come to find out, things turned around with her. I didn't see her for like 5 or 6 years later, and she came up to me, and I didn't know who she was. She said, "Can I hug you?" I said, "Sure." Everybody know I love to hug heart to heart.
That's right.
And I gave her a hug. She said, "You still don't know who I am?" I said, "No." She said, "I'm the lady who stayed in the clinic 5 hours and talked to me. I'm a graduate now. I have my master's degree. I'm doing all these wonderful things." She was in school. She had dropped out.
Yeah.
And she looked fabulous. She said, "I have no medical problems." She looked gorgeous. But it's just taking that time to let her know.
And the same
let
is
her
with the
know.
finances. You know, some people call me a financial healer.
Yes.
Or a holistic financial healer because it's in the listening. Actually, Jim Rohn, his mentor, taught him how when you listen to people speak, he could hear and know more or less within a couple $100 of what someone's bank account was. Just by
talented.
the words
Yes.
they used. It's telling. It's what we're telling ourselves.
Exactly.
And sometimes in the letting go. So when you're talking, she was letting go. She just needed to let
That's
go.
it.
But nobody ever had the opportunity.
And sometimes family and friends, you don't. So she was able to do this with a stranger. Basically, I'm not family. I'm not one of your friends.
And that's sometimes what
And
you
then
need.
I was able to listen.
Yeah.
It's the listening.
It is so beautiful.
Especially in the medical field. I've been a patient many times that people didn't listen to a lot. So you have to listen, and that's part of one of your great qualities as well. And the financial end of it is listening.
It's listening so that this way.
And not just a whole lot of paperwork and say, here.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do. Here's step A, B, C, D, and E. And you're kind of out the door. You don't do that.
I don't do that because I could give you all the tools, but if you don't believe that you can be successful or that you can do it, then we haven't accomplished anything. It does not help you. We first have to work on that belief system. And maybe you need time to self-develop. Maybe sometimes we need to have a few meetings. Maybe it's not for you right now. And you should never be pressured. Finances is never an arena where you should be pressured to make a decision right there and then. You should at least be able to sleep on it. You should be able to talk to somebody. You should be able to make comparisons, ask lots and lots of questions. If you don't know what questions to ask.
Second opinions.
Yes.
Sometimes you need a third opinion. And if you're with an HMO, you might not want a second opinion with them.
Yeah, you might not. And a lot of people don't realize, specifically with HMO, that they can get second opinions.
They can, but if you get a second opinion with someone on
you can ask for something outside. You can absolutely do that. Most people don't know that. We were talking about that yesterday with the nurse I was speaking.
Yes.
And that's one of the things. So know how to empower yourself. If you don't know, learn, from listening from podcast shows. Again, it's getting into that environment and surrounding yourself. And by the way, don't be worried about I'm going to put it this way. Don't be worried about being the dumbest person in the room that doesn't know. Because no questions are dumb questions. I have been known as the question queen. I have been kicked out of places by asking too many questions.
Okay.
Right? But if I have the question, I know someone else in the room has that same question. They're just not asking.
Exactly.
And I don't mind being kicked out if I have to be. But I want my answers. And so, we have to also ask ourselves empowering questions, right? When should we be planning? Well, we should be planning right now.
Right now.
Because if you start today, or if you started yesterday, and say you put some money in an account and you made a decision for yourself, I'm going to put a little bit of money, I don't care, $5 a day, into an account for me to grow. So yesterday I put $5 and today put $5. Today I have double my money because I didn't wait one more day. So just talking about the start. The visualizing. Planning is the visualization.